Hey everyone, this is Scott from the Forgot to Grow Up podcast. Welcome to our American Gods Season 1 rewatch video. I just finished rewatching the first season of American Gods, and I'm going to be making this video to be talking about my general thoughts, my favorite characters, and my favorite moments of this first season of American Gods in anticipation of the second season coming out in just another week. So yeah, I just finished rewatching this, and my general thoughts about this show is I freaking love it. I loved it when I first watched it. I loved the idea when I heard about it. I've been meaning to get the book to read it, but I love just this concept that Neil Gaiman came up with, and I'm so happy that Amazon / Stars, I believe is in the channel, they kind of teamed up to bring this great story to life about these old gods and these new gods, about belief, about mythology, about religion, all these different great aspects that Neil Gaiman put into his story that they brought into this show. And I love it. I just love this idea of this world where gods exist because we believe in them, but they also exist, like they actually exist in physical form, and that their like powers are drawn from the fact that people believe in them and what people believe in them, and they don't necessarily need a lot, they just need a little bit, and they're at war with these new gods who are these different elements. This show, I just love all the concepts for it. The first season, the only thing I could say bad about it is it wasn't long enough. I just wanted so much more, but at the same time, it was great length of just giving us a perfect little story to tell. It gives you just wanting more of this story about these American gods, and I just love it, and I thought they did a really great job with this first season. Another thing I really enjoyed about this season is that the aesthetic of this show, of this world, it has this kind of mystic, kind of magical feel to it, which makes sense considering this is a world of, gods and leprechauns and all that stuff. Anything somebody's believed in comes to life, and I just thought it looked so great, and it suits so well this story that is being told, and then the music mixed in with it, it plays so well into the way the story's the way they're telling the story, and I thought it's just such a unique unique TV show in that sense that, like, yes, all TV shows use, a certain aesthetic and a certain, music to try and enhance the way the story's being told, but I think this one does such a particularly unique job with it, because it's just, there's some scenes that you're just watching CGI stuff while music is playing, and you're just in awe, enjoying this story being told, and not necessarily with just a little narration. And I just love it. I just love the way this show looks, the way it sounds. I love everything about this show. I love all the characters. So many characters, so many stories to follow, so much mythology, and so much just both real mythology and a little bit of Neil Gaiman kind of putting his own little twist on certain things that I just really enjoy. It's just a fun thing to me to kind of explore this kind of different ways to look at these different religions and mythologies from a different perspective, from a fictional perspective, and so I really enjoyed that. The way that was done, especially with all these great characters. And I thought they did a great job with the cast who playing these characters. I believe them all. I believe they're all gods. You can tell me they're all actors, I don't believe it. And that's the kind of thing that American Gods promotes, is if I believe it, it could be true. I just had to believe hard enough, and I love that. But speaking of my favorite of characters, I'm going to be talking about my favorite characters now. First and foremost, obviously, it's Mr. Wednesday, Odin himself. Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen the season, but I mean, it's pretty obvious for anybody who knows what the American Gods story is, what's kind of the book that it's based off of. Just the basic premise. Yeah, it's Odin, and I love his character. So throughout this whole first season, he's pretty much jerking a shadow around the whole time. He can't he barely tells truths, and I just love it. All these half-truths, and it's all because he's been around so long. He knows how to do this. He knows how to manipulate somebody. He knows how to play the game. He knows how to get what he wants in the way to do it, and I love his character. I thought he was just so awesome. That end scene with it where we finally learn his name, all his different names that he's gone by, is just so great. So I'm excited to get more of him next season. Another one of my favorite characters was Mad Sweeney, aka the Leprechaun. I love this. I love that he's not your stereotypical leprechaun. He's quite literally the opposite. He's a ginormous man. He is almost he's got to be like 6'5", 6'7". He's a tall glass of water. I love it. I love the fact that he picks a fight with Shadow right in the first episode. I like that he's got attitude the whole time. I love that he loses his lucky coin and has zero luck after that, because I feel not having your lucky coin. And so I just love his character because of that. It's just the woes that character has to go through. It's just fun. And I like that he's always on about, so don't believe this about the leprechauns. And I just love it. It's just great. Another one of my favorite characters is Anubis. I thought that was just I loved Anubis when I learned about him from ancient mythology, and any adaptation of him in any TV show I love, from Stargate to this, and I thought this one was really great. I love that he's just blunt, and he's got a little bit of sass, especially when him and Laura are interacting. He's like, "You are nobody, I'm going to forget you," and then obviously he doesn't, which is part of the joke that plays into that. But I just really enjoyed that his character's like that, because he's Anubis. He's taken so many people to the afterlife that and so many people have argued with him. He just doesn't have time to argue with somebody, and this one ends up being a little different. But so I really enjoyed his character. Another one of my favorite characters was Media. Of my favorite of the new gods, definitely by far the one I personally worship to. I'm definitely one of her acolytes, one of her disciples. I love Media. I thought she was great. I love the concept of her. I love all the appearances we get her in this season. I just like I said, she's my god. But yeah, another one of my favorite goddesses is definitely Easter. When we get her introduced, I love the fact that we learn a little bit about the history of Easter and the spring equinox in connection with that. And so I just really enjoyed that character, and the fact that, at first she's kind of, towing the line. She's going with the flow, but then Odin gets in her ear a little bit, and she's like, "Hey, guess what? No more green for you guys. No more spring. You guys get to wait a few days," and or months, I should say. So I really enjoyed her character being introduced, and just the way she played it out, she's just so bright and cheerful. She's great. Another one of my favorite characters is Mr. Nancy. He was only showed up twice, I believe, in this whole show, but both appearances were just fun, were great, and just I love his presence in it, and just the way I just like his character. I don't know exactly how to describe it. I just really enjoy these couple scenes. He's very theatrical with his presentation, so that's what I like. But he's a big showman, and I like that in a god. Those are my types of gods. You gotta be a showman. You gotta put on a spectacle for me, because you're gods. You gotta do something with yourselves. But yeah, I like Mr. Nancy for that. And then my last favorite characters were definitely the three sisters. We only get them for one episode, but I enjoyed them nonetheless. Their blunt honesty, the fact that they can see the future, the fact that they're both honest with Shadow, but don't tell him all of the truth, and which was a big part of this entire first season. It's a big theme in this entire first season, but I love it nonetheless. I love those half-truths, because you can see them from one perspective. You can see, but you're like, oh, okay. But yeah, those are my favorite characters. Now onto my favorite moments of this first season. I particularly love the way every episode of this first season had this little intro story scene. The first episode starts off with this tale of Vikings coming to North America hundreds of years ago and having brought Odin, the god Odin, to America. And I just really enjoyed that scene, and all the other different little ones. There was the slave ship one we got at the beginning of the second or third episode, and there was a few other ones, and I just really enjoyed that. That's the way we start off each of these episodes, because it just feels like a Neil Gaiman story. If you've ever read any of his comic books or any of his stories, he has this kind of thing where he likes to tell a story before he gets into the story of the story. But it all connects, and that's the best part about it. It's all interweaving so well. He's brilliant, and I just really enjoyed those scenes. I already mentioned this. Some of my other favorite moments, though, are anything with Media. I love when she shows up. Like I said, I like a showy god, and she is the god of show. She's Media. Like when she shows up first on the TVs, and then she shows up as Bowie's Starman in the back of the limo, or the hologram limo. I just love all of her appearances. So anything with Media, I just really enjoyed. I mentioned I really enjoyed the Shadow and Sweeney bar fight. That was just, It was the only real big fight we actually got in this whole season, but I loved it nonetheless. It was ridiculous. Well, not ridiculous, but it was just intense and cool. It was raw, and I like that Sweeney the whole time. It's like, don't fight me because you're angry. Fight me for the joy of it. And it was just a good scene. What else? Any scenes with Anubis and Ibis? I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but the two gods of death. Well, the god of death and the god of storytelling, I guess. I can't remember exactly what but he's the one who's narrating a lot of the stories and writing down stories. So I really enjoyed those scenes with those two characters. And then the entire last episode is exactly what I wanted from the show. And I hope the second season keeps building on the momentum we got in that last episode. Obviously it's the season finale, but we get so much of the stuff. We get a whole estate full of Jesuses. And that's the type of thing I want in this American Gods show. Just give me gods coming out the wazoo every which way. And this last episode gave it to us, and I really enjoyed it. And then especially at the end, we get him dropping his name, him telling Shadow who he is. And I'm just sitting there trying to pick out which of the names I actually recognize. I'm like, Odin's, or Allfather, I know that one. And, the Ravens and the Wolves' names and stuff like that. And I'm just trying to pick. I just really love that introduction, the way it's shot. And such a powerful introduction, especially since a lot of us who had a little bit of foreknowledge into the season knew a little bit more about the character. Knew, yeah, he's Odin. That's where Wednesday comes from. But I enjoyed that. That's the entrance, in a sense, he gives when he's pretty much finally introduces himself to Shadow for the first time as his real name, which is Odin. And they say Odin 3 times, and I just freaking adore it. It was great. Those were my favorite moments. But yeah, those are all my thoughts about this first season after having rewatched it just now. I'm excited for the second season, which comes out March 11th. I just can't wait. I hope that it's just as good, if not better, than this first season was, and I'm sure it was. But be sure to let me know in the comments below what you thought of this first season, and if you're excited for the second season. Thanks again for joining me today. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and have a good one.